From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at Noon, streaming now.
And thanks for joining us here on the News at Noon. It is Monday, and I'm Lauren Casey. Todd Clausen is standing by from home this midday. Todd, it is a chilly week ahead. I'm not looking forward to it at all, but what do people need to know as they're heading out for their lunch hour?
Yeah, unfortunately, Lauren, it gets colder before it gets warmer across the area, as the end of the week is going to feature another reinforcing shot of Arctic air. Today, it's going to be a little bit warmer in the afternoon hours, if you even want to call it that, but we have some snow heading our way. Now, look at the difference between the snowpack on the ground. Where the snow is thicker, we have temperatures that are still only in the teens to right around 10 degrees to the north, mid-20s to the south, where the snowpack isn't as thick, 21 in Indy. When you factor in the wind, though, it feels like it's currently in the single digits still in Lafayette to below 0 in Peru. 13 is what it feels like in Indy. So definitely have to bundle up. Now, as the day progresses, we're going to start to bring some snow showers back into the forecast, and you can see them starting to develop here off to our west. And there will be some accumulation as these snow showers come in. Most of the area is looking at about coating to 2 inches of snow tops across parts of the area, with temperatures holding pretty steady. There's a winter weather advisory in place across far southern locations. We'll talk about that and look ahead to the rest of the week coming up in just a few minutes. Lauren?
All right, Todd, thank you. Well, we can tell you that a man is in jail after leading police on a chase across the city overnight. It started just after midnight near Claremont. That's when officers responding to a report of an intoxicated person say that a man took off in a work van. Police say the suspect tried to run over an officer and damaged several police cars during that chase. It continued onto I-70 and I-465 at both slow and high speeds. It eventually came to a stop around 12:30 this morning along Monument Circle. Officers say that the man had a warrant out for syringe possession. Out in Shelby County, sheriff's deputies have released more information about a man accused of standing in the middle of the highway and shooting at vehicles. Deputies say this happened Sunday afternoon on State Road 44 east of the I-65 interchange. At least 4 vehicles were hit by bullets. Luckily, there were no injuries reported. The sheriff's office identified the suspect as 36-year-old man from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Deputies say that he was captured after a short chase. Now to the latest on the coronavirus numbers from the state health department. They show new cases continue to trend downward. Just over 1,000 new cases were reported today. That's the lowest single day new case total in more than 4 months here in Indiana. Newly reported deaths remain relatively high. 58 more Hoosiers have died with the virus. That's according to the State Department of Health. Over the weekend, Indiana surpassed the 200,000 mark when it comes to the number of Hoosiers who have received both of their coronavirus vaccine doses. Almost 700,000 people here in Indiana have received the first dose of that vaccine. Well, they were closed to help prevent the spread of COVID-19 less than 2 months ago. Now the Indianapolis Public Library is starting to reopen all of its branches. Starting next Monday, February 15th, all library branches in Indy will be open again, but with limited capacity. You'll be allowed to enter the library buildings to use the computers and to browse for and check out books. All branches except for the Central Library will enforce a 1-hour time limit if capacity is reached. If you use the Central Library, you'll receive a badge limiting you to just 1-hour visit. Mask wearing and social distancing inside buildings will be enforced. Well, today is the day that rules changed for Indiana schools and the precautions they have had to take for students and teachers over the past few months. Instead of remaining 6 feet apart, students and teachers will now only need to be 3 feet apart as long as they're wearing masks. The State Department of Health says the recommendations were changed because experts found that between 3 and 5% of COVID infections are actually happening in the classroom. That change is limited to the classroom only.
Will no longer require quarantine or contact tracing if the students and teachers remain at least 3 feet apart and are wearing a mask at all times in just the classroom. I want to emphasize that this is for the classroom setting only. It does not apply to lunch, athletics, band, orchestra, choir, or any other school setting where students may gather, nor does it apply to classrooms in which students have been allowed to remove their masks.
In situations that do require quarantining, the State Department of Health is still recommending 14 days is the safest option, but 10 or 7 days will be allowed under certain conditions. At the State House today, demonstrators are calling on lawmakers to not override a veto from Governor Holcomb because they say it could lead people to being evicted during the pandemic. The legislature is scheduled to vote on whether to override the veto handed down by the governor last year. The bill would nullify 2 laws passed by the City County Council here in Indianapolis that require landlords to give tenants a notice of their rights as renters. Critics accuse Republicans who control the legislature of potentially putting people on the streets in the middle of winter.
I want the public to know that housing should not be an option, that it should be a human right just as anything else, and to stand up and speak out because people are losing everything and it's just not fair.
Well, the vote on the veto override is scheduled for this afternoon. We'll keep you updated. Later this week, the IRS will begin accepting tax returns, but you may have a lot of questions about doing your taxes for a pandemic year. That's especially true if you were out of work and received unemployment benefits. So our partners with Newsy are working to answer the question of how much in the way of taxes you'll have to pay if you drew unemployment.
In 2020, the U.S. saw widespread joblessness and business closures, making tax prep this year a bit complicated.
I'm not an expert, but we spoke with a lot of them and asked, will the unemployment benefits be taxed?
The simple answer is yes, unemployment benefits are taxable.
However, this only applies to people who didn't choose to have taxes withdrawn from their benefits. Typically, not withdrawing doesn't add up to a big tax bill, but this year could be different.
Because these benefits were so much larger than they normally are, an awful lot of people will end up having some taxes owed on those benefits.
So if you didn't choose to withdraw taxes when you filed for unemployment, make sure you have all the proper documentation for both state and federal benefits.
Taxpayers who received unemployment benefits will have to look for more than one tax document this year, and they may even have to go to the state website and download it.
For more information on the 2020 tax season, visit newsy.com/taxingtimes.
Well, there is a new effort to fight a different crisis here in the state of Indiana. The state's Family and Social Services Administration and the organization Overdose Lifeline, Inc. are teaming up to roll out Naloxone box units in every county. These boxes will give people 24/7 access to Naloxone. That's the life-saving drug that can reverse an opioid overdose. Each box will have 6 to 8 doses, instructions, and referrals on treatment. For more information about the program, as well as resources on recovery, go to the WRTV News app and click on that story. Mount Vernon High School is taking students from classroom to career. Coming up, Hiring Hoosiers is shining a light on the school's program that's filling a very important need in healthcare. Todd.
And Lauren, we are locked in this very winter-like pattern with temperatures that are below normal and several opportunities for some additional snow across parts of the area, including this afternoon and into the evening hours. We'll break down the timeline. Let you know how much you can expect in your neighborhood as well coming up when the News at Noon continues right here on WRTV.
Welcome back. Hiring Hoosiers is our mission here at WRTV to connect you with jobs, resources, and training programs. We know there is a big demand for healthcare workers as the pandemic continues across the country. And our Kelsey Anderson has more on how Mount Vernon High School is getting young people ready to fill those spots.
Well, now more than ever, the healthcare field is seeing a need for certified nursing assistants. And whether it be at a nursing home facility or with at-home care, they often say that CNAs are the first line of defense when it comes to recognizing the signs and symptoms of heart attack and stroke. And Mount Vernon High School is making it possible for their students to get a jump start in the field. The CNA program here at Mount Vernon allows students to take dual credit courses, get hands-on experience, and get certified so they can work at an assisted living center as soon as they complete the course.
They are learning not only, what is a heart attack, but what are the signs and symptoms? Because CNAs are our first line of defense. They're the first people who notice these in the long-term care. They're around the patient the most with our geriatric patients.
We heard from an NVHS alum who says she wishes this program was available when she was there. She says since she's been in college pursuing nursing, she's noticed a lot of fellow students don't understand what all nursing entails. And that gives future healthcare workers that exposure at a very young age. So right now they have about 15 kids in the CNA program, and Vice Principal Stan Wilkinson says they hope that next year they see more enrollment, and they also hope that they can soon open it up to other schools in Hancock County. Working for you, Kelsey Anderson, WRTV.
Kelsey, thank you. Well, they've granted hundreds of wishes over the years, but some of them stand out a little more than others. Next, a story of a young man who got his wish, and now he's paying it forward for an important reason. And let's take a live look outside right now. It is a cold week here across central Indiana. We'll check in with Todd's full forecast coming up right here on the news at noon just after the break. Stay with us.
No matter what your life circumstances look like, no matter your background, no matter your socioeconomic status, know that you can dream. And I think for Make-A-Wish, it's that starting point.
Well, a wish granted by the nonprofit Make-A-Wish 15 years ago continues to inspire one Bloomington couple. Our own Nikki Dementri shares their stories on the impact a trip to Disney World had on both of them and the role the organization continues to play on the couple's mission to create inclusive societies.
Best time of my life, honestly, one of the best times of my life outside of probably getting married.
A wish that lasts a lifetime.
I had never known anyone to ever go to Disney World. I come from a low-income background, first-generation college graduate, that kind of thing. And so this kind of felt like a dream come true.
A trip to the happiest place on earth, thanks to Make-A-Wish in 2004, continues to inspire Tyler Kelly. At 12 years old, he was diagnosed with lupus.
It encouraged me to dream big, to never give up on my dreams. It's motivated me to continuously give back and serve others like I was served. And it's really just inspired me as a person and kind of keeps me going when I think about, that really rough period of my life.
Kelly's mom, grandmother, and little brother tagged along. And he says now the wish means more to him than it did 15 years ago.
And about 4 years ago, I lost my 18-year-old little brother to gun violence. And so, though he's gone, I can look back on these memories.
And all of us here. This past summer, the Kellys were able to take their young nephew, who never had the chance to meet his father and Kelly's brother, to Disney World.
Even just hearing Tyler's story, I've heard it so many times and I get chills every time.
Inspired by her husband's story, Justice, who some may know as the current Mrs. Indiana, started working and volunteering for the Make-A-Wish Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana chapter about 2 years ago. The Kellys' passion, build inclusive societies.
Where does Make-A-Wish fit into helping build inclusive societies?
I mean, that's huge for us. That's something that we are constantly talking about and making sure that diversity, equity, and inclusion is a part of our day-to-day conversation. And I think that looks like the families we serve.
Justice says in August, the organization's local chapter introduced a diversity, equity, and inclusion initiative.
It's really helping us to grow and asking those questions like, where can we diversify? How can we be intentional about recruiting diverse wish kids, recruiting diverse stakeholders?
As for the future of Make-A-Wish, the Kellys both say it's only growth from here.
I think it's just diving into where Make-A-Wish has had an impact and inviting those people to join us and creating an impact for others.
And from my perspective, it is more children, more families having hope, right? In a time of a lot of craziness around the world. This gives everyone an opportunity to come together, to love one another, and to move forward in peace and unity.
Nikki Dementri, WRTV.
Nikki, thank you for that story. Let's take a turn now to the Super Bowl. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are Super Bowl champs, and a lot of people right here in Indy are happy for their head coach, Bruce Arians. You may remember he's a former Colts assistant, and he was the interim head coach for much of 2012 here. Also celebrating the Super Bowl champion coach is his alma mater, Virginia Tech. Here's some film put out by the university. That's Bruce Arians, number 13, as the starting quarterback for the team known as the Gobblers back in 1974. Virginia Tech's teams are now called the Hokies. They ran the old wishbone offense, and Arians led the team with 11 rushing touchdowns that year. But the young Bruce Arians was also a trendsetter when it came to style. Check out this old picture of Arians and his wife Christine on the cover of a 1973 Virginia Tech football program. Todd, I don't know if you can see from your screen there, but he's rocking some plaid bell bottoms, big old belts, and he's got the hair. looking good back in the 70s.
You know, I remember those clothes well. I see lots of pictures
I feel
with
like
my
it's
dad
coming back.
wearing the same. You know, wearing the same thing, the plaid, except my dad, he's sporting the big mustache to go along with it, and you know the dark glasses. So yeah,
Love
you know,
it.
it's all, everything that's old comes new again. So
That's
maybe that'll
true.
be the style pretty soon. All right, lots to talk about in the forecast here today as we go forward. We have cold air in place, and we have more snow that is on the way. And there's two things that we're going to be kind of focusing on here: is the duration of this cold snap, because we're going to be below freezing at least the next 10 to 14 days. In fact, we reinforce the cold air as we get towards the end of the week. And then we have several opportunities here for snow in the forecast as we go forward over the course of the next few days, the first of which being this evening. Outside right now, skies are mostly cloudy. Temperatures are in the teens and 20s, 13 in Kokomo, up to 22 now in Indy. But when you factor in the wind, it feels like it's in the single digits in Lafayette as well as Peru. 14 is what it feels like in Indy, and 18 in Bloomington. Highs will get into the mid to upper 20s here for most locations, the exception to the north. But this is what it's really going to feel like if you're going to be out and about. So make sure you definitely have the warm clothes handy, the hats and gloves, especially if you're going to be out for an extended period of time. Now, as far as the snow goes, we're starting to pick up some returns again here in eastern Illinois. And we'll continue to see more and more in the way of snow returns coming in on radar. You notice the precipitation extends all the way back across parts of southern Missouri. And this is what we'll deal with throughout the afternoon, late afternoon, and then evening hours across the area. Here's what it looks like at 4 o'clock on TrueCast. Light snow across most of the area, so this will impact the evening commute if you are not working from home. And then it's over by the time we get to 8, 9 o'clock tonight. So it's a quick hitting little snow that's going to be making its way through the area. It's going to be that light and fluffy snow. And in general, we're looking at about 1 to 2 inches across most of the area. A little bit less as you work your way to the north. And there will be some areas, I do think, in southern locations, as I throw on specific numbers in your community here, that could get up to about 3 inches of that, again, very light and fluffy snow. And where the better potential for that 3 inches is to the south, that's where the National Weather Service has a winter weather advisory that's in place across the area. And you can see this advisory right here once this loads up for me, across southern counties from Greensburg to Columbus down to Seymour and into the Bedford area. So as we go throughout the evening, prepare for yourself for a little bit of snow in the forecast. As we get into tomorrow, it's a quiet weather day, but then a bigger storm system will head our direction on Wednesday that could put down a little bit more snow than we're seeing here throughout the day today. The one on Wednesday could be 2 to 4, maybe 5, 6 inches across the area, but there will be some mixing in southern locations. And then behind that storm system, Lauren, you see the cold air for Valentine's Day weekend. Very, very frigid with lows in the single digits, even below zero, and high temperatures only in the teens.
All right, Todd, thanks so much. Coming up next, Super Bowl halftime show has come and gone, but the memes are going to live on forever. We'll show you some of the fun takes from the big performance last night. You're watching WRTV. Stay with us. Well, whether you liked it or you didn't, last night's Super Bowl halftime show was quite different from shows in the past, but the show put on by Grammy-winning artist The Weeknd may end up being best known for the memes that it spawned on social media. The Weeknd started off the show on an elaborate set, but then the set opened up and the singer continued to perform very close to the camera while quickly walking through this maze of mirrored walls. Well, of course, social media took it from there. And Connor Ryan described it as me trying to follow the hostess to my table at the Cheesecake Factory. Yeah. This one from someone named Maggie, we can all relate to now. She says, what my coworkers see on Zoom meetings when I think my camera is off. Finally, someone apparently believes The Weeknd resembles Trevor Noah, the host of The Daily Show on Comedy Central. So The Daily Show tweeted this out. This is the weekday and this is the weekend side by side. Todd, my favorite one was what my pizza rolls see from inside the microwave. I thought that was pretty funny.
Oh, very funny. I went to bed. I missed the halftime show, so I'm seeing that for the first time here today. Very creative. All right, outside right now, it's quiet. Light snow develops this evening, about 1 to 2 inches for most people. It ends by about 8, 9 o'clock tonight. Better potential for more significant snowfall on Wednesday, followed by a blast of cold air, Lauren, for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Todd, thanks, and thank you for joining us, making WRTV your choice for news. Come back and join us for the news at 5. Have a great Monday.